My husband told me that he didn't want to adopt my daughter because he doesn't love her like his biological kids. Now he's horrified when my daughter calls him by his name and not dad. I had my daughter at 17. Her bio dad disappeared the second I told him I was pregnant. I raised her alone for 7 years before I met Mike at a coffee shop where I was working double shifts just to keep us afloat. Mike was different. He didn't run when I told him about Hannah. He said he wanted to meet her. Their first interaction, she spilled juice all over his shirt and he just laughed and said, "Guess I needed to do laundry anyway." We got married when Hannah was 8. Mike walked her down the aisle as our flower girl. We had 2 more kids together, Emma, who's now 6, and Tyler, who's 4. From the outside, we looked like the perfect blended family. Last month, Hannah came to me sobbing, happy tears. She said she wanted Mike to officially adopt her for her 16th birthday. That she wanted his last name, wanted it to be legal, wanted everyone to know he was her real dad. I was so happy I couldn't breathe. I told Mike that night, expecting him to be thrilled. He smiled and said yes, hugged Hannah the next morning and told her they'd start the paperwork. But that night, after the kids went to bed, Mike asked to talk. He looked sick. He said he'd been thinking about the adoption all day and he couldn't do it. I asked him what he meant. He said he loved Hannah, but it was different. That he didn't feel the same way about her as he did about Emma and Tyler. That legally adopting her felt wrong because he'd be lying. That it wouldn't be fair to her to have a dad who didn't love her the same way. I felt like I'd been punched. I asked him if he'd been pretending this whole time. He said no, that he cared about her, that he'd always treat her well, but that she wasn't his and he couldn't pretend otherwise on legal documents. I told him not to say a word to Hannah, that I'd handle it. I spent 3 days trying to figure out how to tell my daughter that the man she'd called dad for 8 years didn't actually want to be her father. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Hannah kept asking me when they were going to the courthouse. I kept making excuses. Then I came home early from work one afternoon. The house was quiet, too quiet. I walked into the kitchen and found Hannah sitting at the table with Mike's phone in her hands, tears streaming down her face. She'd picked it up to answer a call from Mike's brother, but she saw the text thread first. Mike had been venting to his brother. "I don't know how to tell her I can't do this. She's not really mine. I don't want to be legally responsible for someone else's kid. I love my wife, but this is too much." Hannah looked up at me with the most broken expression I've ever seen. She said, "You knew, didn't you? You both knew he didn't want me." I tried to explain, tried to tell her that I was going to tell her, that I was trying to protect her. She just shook her head and walked out. That night at dinner, she didn't come down. Mike went to get her. I heard him knock on her door, heard him say, "Hannah, honey, dinner's ready." Her voice came through the door, cold and flat. "Mike, I'm not hungry." He came back downstairs looking confused. The next morning, same thing. "Mike, can you pass the milk?" Emma looked between them worried. Tyler asked why Sissy wasn't calling Daddy Daddy anymore. Mike tried to talk to her. He sat outside her door and apologized, said he didn't mean what he texted, that he was scared and confused. Hannah opened the door, looked him dead in the eyes and said, "At least now I know the truth. Mike, it's been 3 weeks. She only calls him Mike now. Won't look at him during meals." Last week, our youngest asked me directly, "Why isn't Mike Hannah's daddy anymore? Does that mean she's not my sister?" I immediately said, "Hannah will always be your sister." Mike's face went white. He finally understood what he'd done, but it gets worse. I found Hannah researching how to legally change her last name to mine. She'd filled out half the forms already. When I asked her about it, she said, "Why would I keep his name if he doesn't want me to have it?" Mike is falling apart. He keeps trying to fix things, buying her gifts she won't accept, trying to start conversations she shuts down. Yesterday, he broke down crying at the kitchen table, saying he made the biggest mistake of his life. But Hannah, she told me last night that she's done, that she spent 8 years believing she finally had a real dad, and now she knows it was all conditional, that she'll never trust like that again. I'm looking at divorce lawyers, because how do you stay married to someone who broke your daughter's heart like that? Mike keeps asking me what to do. I told him exactly what Hannah told me. There's nothing left to fix, Mike.